Great St.Bernard Pass is the third highest road pass in Switzerland. It connects Martigny in the canton of Valais in Switzerland with Aosta in the region Aosta Valley in Italy. It is the lowest pass lying on the ridge between the two highest summits of the Alps, Mont Blanc and Monte Rosa. The pass itself is located in Switzerland in the canton of Valais, very close to Italy. It is located on the main watershed that separates the basin of the Rhône from that of the Po. Great St.Bernard is the most ancient pass through the Western Alps, with evidence of use as far back as the Bronze Age and surviving traces of a Roman road. In 1800, Napoleon's army used the pass to enter Italy. An event depicted in Jacques Louis David's Napoleon at the St. Bernard Pass and Hippolyte Delaroche's Bonaparte crossing the Alps, both notable oil paintings, having been bypassed by easier and more practical routes, particularly the Great St. Bernard Tunnel, which opened in 1964. Its value today is mainly historical and recreational. Straddling the highest point of the road, the Great St. Bernard Hospice was founded in 1049. The hospice later became famous for its use of St. Bernard dogs in rescue operations. Geography. Route. The pass runs northeast-southwest through the Valais Alps at a maximum elevation of 2,469 meters. The road running through the pass, Highway E27 in both Italy and Switzerland, joins Martigny on the upper Rhône in the canton of Valais, Switzerland, to Aosta in the Aosta Valley region of Italy. From Martigny, Route 9 descends to Lausanne, and from Aosta, Route A5 descends to Torino. Further north, in Switzerland, the route to the pass follows the lower part of the river Ladrance above Martigny, then into the wild and desolate Val d'Entremont through which the Dronce d'Entremont flows. The Great St. Bernard Tunnel plunges through the mountains at a 1,915 meters level, reducing, since the tunnel's opening in 1964, the commercial relevance of the road over the pass. On the south side, the route follows the steep slopes of the upper part of the Torrent du Grand St. Bernard to the south, then turns to the east and follows the river in a bend to the south, where the mountain river enters the Torrent Artanavaz and turns to the east again, then smoothly to the southeast. Here the river enters the La Bullia in the lower end of the Valpelline and turns south again, on which end finally the river flows into the Dora Baltia in Aosta. The route here in the main valley of the Val d'Aosta becomes part of the motorway connecting the Mont Blanc tunnel to the west and the Upper Po basin to the southeast. A reduction of utility began after the construction of the Simplon tunnel, strictly a railway tunnel, 100 kilometers to the east in 1905. The much smaller historic road winding over the pass itself, which lies a few hundred meters from the Swiss border with Italy, is only passable June to September. The pass at narrowest point runs between the peaks of Grande-Canlet at 2,889 meters and Mont at 2,867 meters. Slightly to the west in Point de Drone at 2,949 meters, the highest peak. Between it and the pass is Petit Chanlet at 2,885 meters. The Tour de France has visited the pass 5 times. It was climbed 4 times as a first-category climb, and 1 time, in 2009, as a hors-category climb. Weather. The snow in the pass in winter may be as much as 10 meters deep. The temperature may drop as low as -30 degrees Celsius. The lake in the pass is frozen for 265 days per year. A summary of weather data for the year 1981 to 2010 is given below. Ecology. The pass is well above the tree line. All the wood required for construction and firewood must be hauled in from some distance. On the southwest side of the pass is a small tarn, the Great St. Bernard Lake, which captures meltwater and does not support fish, even though attempts have been made to stock it. In past years the town has not always thawed completely in summer. Alpine flowers are abundant in the vicinity. Gentiana classi, Ranunculus glacialis, Dryas octopetala, forget-me-not, Saxifraga oppositifera, among many hundreds more. Moss is prolific and the rocks are lichen-covered. The Hospice and the Dogs. A hospice for travelers was founded in 1049 by St. Bernard of Menthon and came to be named after him in the 16th century, along with the pass. It was not the first hospice in the pass. Buildings were probably there since the Roman Mancio, but the region was not secure and they were destroyed many times. The first concern of the founder of the current monastery was to clear the region of bandits and keep the pass safe for travelers. The role of rescuers developing naturally. The hospice later became famous for its use of St. Bernard dogs in rescue operations. Pope Pius XI confirmed Bernard as patron saint of the Alps in 1923. The hospice straddles the highest point of the road, which is in Switzerland. Today the modern road for through traffic has been routed around the outside of the monastery buildings to allow some integrity of the grounds. The old road may still be seen above the paved road. The hospice occupies two buildings, of 1560 and 1898. The Congregation of Canons of the Great St. Bernard also owns the Hôtel de Hospice du Grand St. Bernard, a four-story building made of grey stone on the Italian side, which it leases to a private entrepreneur for the provision of hotel services. The St. Bernards were bred large enough to traverse deep snow and to send out lost persons. The first evidence that the dogs were in use at the monastery is two paintings dating to 1690 by Salvatore Rosa. It is often said that they carried small casks of brandy around their necks, in the belief that the liquor had medicinal properties. Today the tunnel and modern technology have made rescue operations at the pass mainly unnecessary. The dogs were put up for sale in 2004 because of the high cost of maintenance and were promptly bought by two foundations created for the purpose: Fondation Barry du Grand St. Bernard and Fondation Bernardet Caroline de Watteville. Barry bought the kennels and the facilities in Martigny and continues to support and breed the dogs. One condition of the sale is that they be brought to the monastery for the summer. Travelers are likely to see them romping around the slopes. The de Watteville Foundation keeps several dogs in kennels adjunct to its Marseille. Both have agreed to work together and others have joined the partnership. The monastery currently houses a handful of monks on a permanent basis and serves as a spiritual center for others on retreat. History. Celtic period. The pass first appears in history as the route taken by the Celtic tribes of the Boii and Lingons in the invasion of Italy of 390 BC. The classical authors first mentioning the pass in that or other contexts lived the 1st century BC under the early Roman Empire. They were calling the pass and the mountains Poenina Sapoenini, Punic, an apparent reference to Hannibal's crossing. He did not cross there, however. On the presumption that the name was falsely altered by analogy, it can be reconstructed to *Paninis, a Roman Celtic word, considering that Celtic tribes owned the entire pass until defeated by the Romans. Livy says that the pass was not named after the Carthaginians but after a mountain god. For well over a century scholars such as the Grimm brothers have made a connection with continental Celtic Penaben, head, summit, chief, on an analogy with the Zeus Caraios of Hesychius. Two tribes occupied the valleys on either side of the pass on a permanent basis, the Veragri on the Swiss side and the Sfollasi on the Italian side. Roman period. Julius Caesar sent an expedition under his best commander, Servius Galba, from Gaul in 57 BC to seize the pass, hoping to obtain a shorter route between Italy and Gaul than the contemporaneous coastal route. Galba was deceived by the Veragri into making camp near Martigny with the expectation of moving into the pass on the next day. At the time, the Romans found the heights over the trail occupied by 3 hostile Gallic tribes. The Romans won a local victory by a daring foray from the camp, but Galba judged he could not take the pass and departed. Augustus succeeded where his adoptive father failed and the pass became Roman. Augustus placed a large castrum to Tiber and Colony, Augusta Praetoria Salisorum, below the pass, which became Aosta. Its ruins are a historic attraction there. By 43 AD, under the Emperor Claudius, a good Roman road through the pass was completed with a mansio at the top and a temple to Jupiter Poenianus, resulting in the name Mons Jovis in late antiquity, Monte Jove in the early Italian period, and Montjou in the French period, a synonym for the pass. The site of the temple is known as the Plan de Jupiter, located on a knoll on the Italian side of the pass. A cross was placed there in 1816 bearing the inscription Dio Optimo Maximo, to the best and greatest God. The bronze statue of St. Bernard on a pedestal above the road on the Italian side, across a small valley from the cross, was constructed in 1905 on the site of the Roman mansio. The coins and votive tablets found at the site of the temple roughly date the upper limit of Roman control of the pass. The youngest date to the reign of Theodosius II. These and other artifacts are stored in the monastery museum. Fragments of the marble temple, some with inscriptions, have been incorporated into many structures of the village of Bourg Saint-Pierre on the Swiss side of the pass. The Roman milestone from mile 23 was also brought to the center of the settlement from the top of the pass. Napoleonic crossing the pass had entered history with the Gallic invasion of 390 BC. The last Gallic invasion over it occurred in May 1800, under the direction of the 30-year-old first consul of the French Republic, Napoleon Bonaparte. An Austrian army of 140,000 men had laid siege to French-occupied Genoa on the west coast of northern Italy. Napoleon traversed the pass with 40,000 men and one-third of the heavy artillery, sending another 20,000 over 3 other passes as a diversion, intending to strike the Austrian rear. The panicked Austrians were unable to assemble fast enough to meet the French en masse, but rather in a piecemeal way in June 1800, and so were defeated first at the Battle of Montebello and then at the Battle of Marengo. Napoleon prepared for the march secretly by assembling men in small units below the pass, establishing supply dumps along the lower part of the route, and hiring artisans to set up shop along it as well. On May 15, an advance unit went over the pass to take Aosta, after which hospitals were set up at Martigny and Aosta. At Martigny, the army assembled and received rations for 3 days. All the equipment, carriages, artillery, arms and ammunition was disassembled and divided into packs of 60 to 70 pounds for the men to carry. The cannons were to be dragged up over the snow in hollowed-out pine half-logs by mules, and then, when the mules died or were exhausted, by 100 soldiers and hired men each. Napoleon offered liberal monetary rewards to soldiers and laborers who could perform difficult portages in a timely fashion. Over several days at the end of May, the army went over the pass single file, 6,000 men per day. Bands played martial music along the route, with drum rolls at especially difficult places to alert the men. At the top, the monks handed each man 2 glasses of wine and a slice of rye with cheese as he filed by. Accounts of the amounts expended vary. On the other side, the snow became so packed that the men slid down sitting. Napoleon was the last man over, sliding also. The good weather held for the entire crossing, which could easily have turned into a disaster if it had not. On the way up, Napoleon had discussed affairs of the heart with his young guide and mule driver, Pierre-Nicolas d'Orsaz, who did not know his identity. Offered a reward at the top, d'Orsaz asked for the mule on which Napoleon was riding. He received the mule in a short note for the chief supply officer of the army. Versions of the story vary, but they all agree that when the young man had turned in the note and had drawn his ample pay for the work, he found that his companion was Napoleon, and the latter had given him a house and farm so that he could marry his sweetheart. In the Aosta Valley, Napoleon's army slipped by an Austrian garrison at Bard, just out of cannon range. The commander related that he was astonished to watch an army of 40,000 men in full equipment go marching past from the direction of the heights.